Good morning. Today I want to go over some of the reviews that people have left about my book, The Fuck List. And I want to start with some of the worst ones. Now, if there's a gentleman who actually liked my book who noted that all the negative reviews are from people who have not even bought the book because it shows you under the reviewer's name if it was a verified purchase or not. So here are all the reviews with 1 star, and none of them are a verified purchase. So I'm just going to scroll through these for you, and I'm going to read them, okay? Let's have a little fun here. And I know that this book is not perfect. I'm not a professional writer. I'm more like a report writer, like fact-based kind of stuff. Writing this book was extremely challenging. I didn't have an editor per se. I had someone who reviewed it and gave me some things like, this doesn't really match with this, but I didn't have anyone to go through, and already I'd paid $6,000 for the coaching, which was useless, and the editor, and I just didn't have more money to put into it, nor did I want to. And I was also kind of giving myself permission that I didn't have to be perfect. I don't have to be perfect. Like, this is going to be okay. And I just really want to get the book out there because I spent every night after work for a year at least working on this book, with 2/3 of the time on the editing, which was very tedious, I have to say. But the other thing I want to say is that I'm aware that there are passages where there were misspellings that my WordPerfect editor didn't catch. And there are some passages that are kind of boring, frankly. And that's why I rewrote the book as What I Did for Sex, which I think is a much better version. And I'm working on another book now about an escort life. And that one is going to be shorter, and I'm going to use what I learned from my mistakes in this book to make that book more interesting. But, so I think some of these critiques are valid about my writing, but some of these critiques have more to do about what people thought about me writing the book in the first place, what I was really looking for. I'm just like this empty person looking for love and meaning in all the wrong places. Okay, so this is from Amazon Fan, titled "Don't Read It." Like, he's warning you, don't even bother. Don't be fooled by the salacious title of this book. What this book represents is the tragic story of a woman who, after 25 years of marriage, never learned the difference between love and sex, or that sex is most meaningful within the context of a loving relationship. Someone who makes their life about giving and receiving pleasure is selfish. Love is selfless. People who don't discuss their sex lives in public aren't ashamed. They just understand that it is something intimate between themselves and their partners and not meant to be a spectator sport. If you want to be a voyeur, hit up Netflix for some porn movies. The reason why 50 Shades of Grey was popular is because it was a fictional tale. Why on earth would anyone want to read this real story of a woman who is willing to publicly humiliate her ex-husband and her children? And a lot of people liked this review. It had 28 people like this review. Next, we have MM Mandy, titled, "Her Children Must Be Proud." Her children must be proud to know that their mother is a slut. This is a pile of sordid trash, and I advise readers to pass this by. As people become more degenerate by the day, this book is a testament to this societal rot. 11 people found that helpful. Tiger's Den writes, garbage at its best. If you want to know why this world is morally decaying, read this book. A better title for the book would be Filthy Slut Screws the World. 10 people found this helpful. Next, we have Intergalactic Customer M78, titled Pure Degenerate Trash. And he writes, Where Western Civilization Goes to Die. R. Stanley, because this must be written by Satan, and his review is this for real? Don't let your kids find it. So I think I should address some of these comments. Of course, none of these people read the book. And I can tell if you haven't read the book, I can imagine it would be off-putting to consider why would a woman, you have to project your own self into it and make a lot of assumptions that this woman must have been married a really long time and now she's humiliating her husband and her children and just fucking guys and isn't that a meaningless life? What is she really looking for? Like, what is her problem? I think one of the 2 stars reviews talked about the fact that the woman who wrote this book, me, needs a therapist and has issues and all this stuff. And I can see why people would say that. But the people who actually read the book understand what the purpose of this book was. And the purpose of this book was for me to discover myself sexually. The purpose of this book was that I didn't have love with sex when I was married. The sex in my marriage was utterly devoid of love. That's why I got divorced. That's why I wanted to experience sex. The sex I had when I was married was purely physical, where I would say I was merely an ejaculation device for this guy who otherwise loved me. And I think this is a really good opportunity to talk about sex and love, which I will make a separate video about, but I just wanted to go over the reviews here. I think it's a valid point to be like, why do you want to humiliate your family? I don't think you will find my family here because I legally changed my name to protect them. So I changed the names of everyone to protect them. What I was trying to do was tell my story. And for me, it was very cathartic because I so much wanted to express myself, my feelings and my desires and my thoughts. And I lived in a world where it was all repressed because I couldn't just make YouTube videos when I was married because I had to be considerate of my husband. And I couldn't express my feelings to him because he didn't want them. He kept pushing them down. This book to me was so cathartic that I had felt so oppressed sexually. My entire marriage, I was sexually oppressed and not allowed to express desires and feelings and love and curiosity. I wasn't allowed to express anything. And so this book came out of my repression. It was also a great commitment to a project because it was a lot of work. I could see why people wouldn't like it. I'll give you that. Let's see. I can see why people would think that I'm a filthy slut who screws the world without understanding what the real deeper meaning was of why I wrote the book. It was to express myself. And at the time, I didn't know that we were in a sexual revolution. My book is missing the mark by many years. I did not know. I was so sheltered, this housewife in the suburbs. I was raised at a time when women were supposed to be like not promiscuous. And when I discovered like my own sexual liberation, what I wanted to feel and experience, and how I wanted to be treated in bed, I thought it was like an awakening to other women. And I wrote the book for women to say that we are allowed to enjoy sex. We don't have to listen to what we were taught, that it's bad to like it, that we shouldn't have feelings in it. Like, what can we discover? What can we feel like in our healthy sexuality? And I didn't realize that it would be maybe mostly men reading the book, but I wrote the book for women. I guess that, not everyone's going to like everything that we do, but in my next book, I want to focus a lot more on the types of things I talk about in these videos, which is the differences between men and women sexually, and some of the emotional differences, because I think that would be very interesting for people. I'm going to make the book much shorter, and the sexual stories can get really boring, so sex will be like kind of the backdrop to a bigger story about the differences between men and women sexually. I think that's one thing that I wasn't aware of at all. In fact, I was not aware of the differences between men and women sexually until probably 3 or 4 years ago. And this book I wrote in 2013 or 14. It came out in 2015. I didn't know that we were in a sexual liberation, that many women were experimenting sexually and trying to be sexual like men, and that they were finding that it was unfulfilling and leaving them very sad, because men and women are different in that way. And so I want to bring a lot more of that into it. So I kind of feel like the timing on this book was off. I think the book that really hit the time more was the book, The Case Against the Sexual Revolution. That is a much more timely book. Of course, I was just writing for myself. I wasn't trying to like find an audience, although audience would have been nice. So maybe we can go over some of the reviews that are a little bit more flattering. Do you guys want to hear any of those? Like, let's read some of these 5-star reviews, because that's half of them. And these are all verified purchases. So Carrie Newman writes, and this review is from 10 years ago. This book had me from page 1. I haven't finished yet, but I'm reading so much every day, and even ordered a paperback copy so I could have one to hold and possibly lend to friends. My other copy is on Kindle. Shahrazad has experiences that I wish I had, and she describes them in erotic detail. I found this book very exciting and well written. I love strong, honest women, and she fits that description. I would love to meet her one day. Ironically, she has lived in Omaha, which is a place I lived for 6 months and visited often as a child, and went to school in a city only 20 minutes away from where I live now. This was all just coincidence, but I feel like it was fate. I'm adding to this after I've read the entire book. It's remarkable how good it was, considering her friends just said, "You should write a book," and she didn't have a background as a writer. She's planning a second book, and I'm just excited to read that. It's so refreshing to know that there are such unflinchingly honest people in this world. She shares her joys and sorrows. I want all my friends to enjoy this book. No fiction book could ever do it justice. Here's an Amazon customer verified purchase, and the title is Excellent Book That Made a Difference in My Life. I love the fuck list. Do not judge the title if you are conservative about sex. It is a book from a real woman's voice telling her life filled with love, lust, heartaches, and battle over addictions. It talks about every aspect of humanity. I feel I can relate to her story as a woman. It speaks to every woman and man in her struggles about life. The core message of this book is to encourage every individual to own your sexual freedom, and to love freely, and to embracing life freely, and not to be repressed by social norm and cultural norm. Above all, to truly go after what you want and be happy within. The author is showing you can own your sexuality and be your own authority over your own sex life. Very empowering book. raw, honest, and authentic. See beyond the sex encounters. You will know this is a book that speaks about a woman's quest to live life to the fullest with no shame. I admire women like her who are strong and emotionally resilient. She's very defendable. You cannot help it as you will fall in love with her. Truly amazing and remarkable. Here's an anonymous reviewer. The title is Honest and Erotic. I started reading this book on a Monday and I was done by Wednesday. Miss Morgan is truly an inspiring woman. Not only is this book steamy, it helped me realize that I'm not alone in some of the thoughts and feelings I have. I commend the author for putting it all out there. I seriously recommend this book. Yomo writes, read it because she wrote it. Okay, thank you. You may think sex is overrated or not, but reading her book and trying to see how a woman views sex and how she wants it is very interesting. Plus, the story of other sexual experience or things that they have to say may help you, interest you, or simply be some form of entertainment. I love this book and the title. So there are, many other reviews. They're just saying it's captivating, it's hot, fantastic. Here's one that's funny. This Amazon customer titles it 5 stars, and he writes, wow, hot, naughty woman. Love to get her phone number. This Amazon customer says, well-written book. Anyway, so there are all kinds of reviews. And, here, let's read this one. Freebird976. Hot, hot, hot. Real moving and inspiring. This book takes you on a ride. You will get a close-up look into the sex journal of a divorced woman who had enough of hiding. Yes, she's going for it. She ended her marriage for various reasons and then went a journey finding the right sex mate. For her, sex and connection are equally important. So she's trying out men and even women. She writes down names, changed for the books, dates, and experiences. Every time she learns something more about herself, trying to figure out what exactly it is she wants from life, sex, men, and women. You never read a book like this. This book is not for you if you don't want to liberate your ideas about sex. I don't think I read such a positive, shameless ever. Wow, that's really nice. He really, really gets it. I really like that one. This is an Amazon customer, and the title is Chevron Employee in Shock. Oh my God, this is hilarious. Chevron Employee in Shock. Okay. I'm in shock for a good reason. I plugged into this book while at work, and oh my Lord. I'm still at work and I'm still reading. I can't put this book down. Thank you, Ms. Morgan, for a signed copy. The freedom and self-expression. I'm upset I didn't buy this book sooner. Jessica writes, enjoyed the book, honestly. I was quite shocked in most of it, but by the end you see a brighter, happier woman, a woman who has found herself, someone who is willing to dive deep into the primal urges and wants others to do the same. Great read. So those are kind of like, I couldn't put it down to like, this is just sort of trash. Don't read it. It's a symbol of the degeneracy of our society. But the people who took the time to read the book, they understand what I was trying to get through in this book, which was my own self-discovery, my own liberation, my own finding of myself. And ideally, you guys, I really wanted to just experiment like with 1 or 2 people. And the problem was that these guys kept ghosting me, and then that became very painful to me and all of that. So I don't hook up anymore. I can't do it. But I hope that you enjoyed me kind of going over the book. If you read the book, let me know what you thought about it. Leave it in the comments, and I'll be back to read your comments. Thank you so much for watching my video. I'll leave the link to get the book in the description. It's on Amazon. You can find it there. But I really would recommend that you get my other book instead, the What I Did for Sex. That's this one. I was just kind of going through it. This is so funny. And in this book, I actually like this one better because it has like the titles, you know, for everything in the index. And this one just made me laugh. This title of this chapter is Leaving the Office for Sex Makes a Bad Impression. Because at the time I was experimenting with all these people sexually, I had a job, and this guy who had been married for almost 30 years, he knew that one time, a couple times I went for a long lunch break to just hook up with some guy, and he didn't like that at all. He told me that. So here's the story of it, when I went to meet up with this math teacher. I guess he's a math teacher. I don't even remember this guy. I call him Steve in the book. And I left the office mid-morning to go to his house. Oh, okay, I remember who this guy is. And he was someone in his late 40s, early 50s. And those guys are like really, really amazing, that age range. And he was extremely sensual with me. I really liked to be with him. So we, you know, went to his house. We were intimate together. Then we went to Starbucks to get a coffee. And when I got back, so I was gone like 3 hours maybe, I don't know. When I got back to work, one of the associates who worked there pulled me aside and he said, "Shahrzad, can I talk to you?" Sure. He came into my office and he closed the door. When you leave the office during the day to have sex, it gives the appearance you're not serious about your work. He was right. I was not that serious about my work, but my hours were not his business. He was not my boss. Was this sexual harassment? Telling me I wasn't allowed to leave work to have sex? Could I leave the office for my son's swim meet? Or to have lunch with a friend? Was it the sex that bothered him? Or my playfulness? Maybe he secretly wished he was me. Well, I'm an independent contractor, I told him, which means I set my own hours, and I like that perk and I will continue to use it. He had some nerve, this guy, seeking to damp my sexuality, which had been dampened my whole life. I didn't work there to impress people with my career ambitions. I was there to contribute and have an intellectual outlet, as well as an income to support myself, but none of that could interfere with my primary goal of discovering my sexuality. Damn, I love this section. Damn, I fucking love this section. Page 352 of my book, you guys. And that's exactly what this was about for me. And see how he was trying to subdue my sexuality. You know, we were all independent contractors. We could set our own hours. We could work from home, work from the office. And he's coming telling me that it makes a bad impression that I leave. Fuck him, you know. And then, you know what else this guy did? I think this is somewhere in the book too. At one of the Christmas parties and that's when I was still married, my ex-husband was there too. His wife, super fun, was telling us how she taught her son how to put a condom on a cucumber, and then she proceeded to tell us that her husband was large, well endowed. I won't use the words on YouTube because I don't want to get a strike, but she pronounced this to us, and I did not want to know this about him. And so she's just talking very openly sexually at this long dinner table, you know, while we're out at dinner for a Christmas party. And so at the next Christmas party, and I had one of my kids there with me, sitting next to me at the next Christmas party, which was actually in the daytime. I proceeded to talk to her about the safety of oral, you know, how to be safe, and I thought it was instructional for my then high schooler to also hear. There was nothing inappropriate in my opinion. She didn't say anything was inappropriate, you know. But apparently this was not okay because a week or two later, my boss, who's the boss of all of us, called me into the office and said that he had received a complaint from the same guy who didn't like me leaving for lunch, who said that his wife was extremely offended that I was discussing, safe sex practices with my high schooler sitting next to me. She thought it was very inappropriate. So, and that's when I considered this actually sexual harassment of me. Like, why is my boss talking to me about what I discussed at the Christmas party to this guy's wife? Why didn't this guy talk to me, or the wife? Why didn't she say she was uncomfortable? She's the one that talked about the condom on the cucumber and her husband's big penis and all of that. So I don't think I misread the room, but maybe. Okay, I actually do have this in the book on page 388. I call it sexual harassment because it was. So I was talking about the Christmas party, how my son was my guest, sat next to me at lunch. I chatted about my safe sex BJs and the latest hookups to these people. It was the guy's wife who often had talked to me about sex. I was totally blindsided when they filed a complaint against me. My boss called me into his office. He said he was concerned I was talking too much about sex and it could make associates and clients uncomfortable. He followed up with a formal complaint of sexual harassment. He wrote me up for sexual harassment, you guys. Okay, I didn't harass anyone. Okay, this was about what I had talked about at the lunch table. I couldn't decide whether to laugh or be furious. I'd never heard of a woman being written up for sexual harassment. I used this as a learning opportunity, though. Not everyone was interested in sex, and I needed to get to a place in my life where I had interests other than sex. Because honestly, at that time, that's all I cared about, you guys. It was all I cared about. I had like this hunger to discover this and to learn everything about it. And if you read my book, you will see all the different angles and things I was trying to discover and learn about. So I had to get to a place in my life where I had interests other than sex, but everything other than sex bored me. Okay. So anyway, anyway, the book goes on and on, but yeah, so there's some funny parts in the book too. But the book is really long, so my next one I want it to be shorter, and I wanted to pack, like there's funny moments and emotional punches, and I want to get like a lot more honest, and have it be like more of like an emotional read and like an aha moments where I talk about something that I learned about men or what men learned about me, so that can be educational and heart opening, can be like a real journey into people discovering parts of themselves, just as I use that to discover parts of myself. And that's really what the exploration is about, whether you're exploring your sexuality, your artistic or musical talents, your writing, your career aspirations, how to put on your makeup or decorate your house or cooking something. Like, what can I create? What can I feel? Why am I here on earth? What can I feel? What is connection about? What is sex really about? And, in the end, I really discovered that sex, for me, fulfilling sex has to involve love. It is not a sign that someone is in love with you. It's not a relationship, but sex has to involve love to be meaningful and to be fulfilling. So that's what I'm going to talk a lot more about in the next book. But anyway, thanks you guys so much for watching my video.